any different than being 79 so far. Who knows what another year will be.
The long-whispered truth has finally surfaced. The silence is broken, and the rumor that once seemed far-fetched has now been confirmed. Tom Orr, the beloved star of Mountain Men, has finally opened up, and fans can hardly believe it. What exactly happened? Why would he take such a surprising turn at the age of 68? These questions have been echoing through the minds of viewers and outdoor enthusiasts everywhere. So, stay with us as we take a deep dive into the shocking truth behind Tom Orr's disappearance from the spotlight. Secrets or reality? For years, the internet has been buzzing with whispers about Tom Orr from Mountain Men, suggesting that the survival star might have aspects of his life hidden from public view. You may have heard some of these rumors, or maybe not, but there have been persistent claims from critics, skeptics, and even fans that Tom keeps significant parts of his life private, away from the cameras and public attention. At first, these rumors felt awkward and far-fetched. Yet over time, they gained traction, growing louder and more widespread, leaving his community puzzled and sometimes even shocked. While many refused to accept the gossip circulating online, others felt compelled to dig deeper to uncover the truth. As the debate raged on, the tension only heightened, with people split between defending him and questioning the stories they had believed for so long. The central question remained: had fans been believing a constructed image all these years? Or were they simply caught in the whirlwind of speculation that appeared out of nowhere? For a time, many seemed to find comfort in the silence surrounding Tom Orr, interpreting his lack of response as reassurance that the stories were overblown. That quiet, in a way, kept fears from taking root in the minds of his supporters. Now, at 68, the long-standing silence has finally been broken, revealing truths that some may find difficult to accept. For some fans, the revelation confirms what they had suspected all along, leaving a mix of disappointment, surprise, and even regret. While a few wished they had stayed neutral and avoided the speculation, others feel unsettled, unsure of what to believe or how to react next. Questions loom large. Can Tom Orr rise from this wave of scrutiny? Is it possible for his reputation to recover fully in the eyes of his fans and the wider community? These are questions that only time will answer. But before we dive into the details behind the controversy, let's take a step back and learn more about who Tom Orr really is and what has shaped the man behind the camera. The long road to fame. Looking at the life of Tom Orr, one could clearly see the scars and struggles he had to endure just to rise to the top. It was never an easy road, as many would later confirm, yet Tom was always ready to roll up his sleeves and face whatever challenge came his way. At first, he thought his journey might end in vain, but his relentless determination kept him pushing forward until he finally found victory. Tom's long journey to fame began when he chose a path that few were willing to tread. He started as a professional rodeo cowboy, driven by a deep desire to explore the potential locked within him. He always felt that he belonged to the woods and the wild, and when he finally gave it a try, it turned into a lifelong pursuit he would forever be grateful for. His natural talent and unique skills soon earned him a place among the best as he began competing in bronc riding events. His name quickly spread across the circuit, and before long, his fame echoed far and wide. For nearly 2 decades, Tom toured the country with his craft, proving that nothing was impossible even in the face of chaos. With each performance, he carved out a legacy, showing that he was there to stay, not just to pass time like so many others. His unwavering dedication to his passion was unmatched, and nothing could sway him from doing what he loved most. Starting from his teenage years, Tom's career experienced phenomenal success. Despite the countless obstacles he faced, he maintained a firm and flawless stance well into adulthood. His experience gave him an edge in everything he did, making him stand out from his fellow riders. By the early 1970s, he had become a national figure, earning recognition in the International Rodeo Association. He frequently ranked among the top 10 riders and regularly qualified for the finals. The love Tom had for rodeo was beyond measure. For years, he enjoyed the rewards of his hard work and perseverance. Yet after his long walk toward success, his body began to show the price of his dedication. Physical pain crept in, and balancing his demanding career with his family life became an almost impossible task. Between the two, he had to make a decision, one that would eventually free him from years of growing frustration. The latter part of the 1970s brought unexpected change. Each day began with hope, but Tom had no idea of the danger waiting ahead. He soon faced one of the most frightening moments of his life, a close encounter with death itself. During one rodeo event, Tom had a face-to-face collision with death and narrowly escaped. Though the memory would haunt him for years, it also became a turning point in his life. At the time, he was 35, and losing him would have been devastating to those who admired him. Later, Tom confessed it was one of the most terrifying experiences of his life. That day, he entered the arena as usual, unaware that fate had a cruel plan. While riding a bull named Woolly Bulger, Tom suffered a brutal accident. As he exited the chute, the bull struck him head-on, knocking him unconscious instantly. It all happened too fast for him to react. When he woke, he described it as the fastest way to hell. His head had collided with the bull, and his hand became tangled in the rope, trapping him beneath the raging animal for what felt like an eternity. 2 long, agonizing minutes. The crowd froze in horror, certain he wouldn't survive. Yet miraculously, Tom made it out alive. For nearly 3 hours, he lay unconscious, and when he finally awoke, doctors confirmed he had suffered a severe concussion and deep bruising. For a brief moment, he had stood between life and death, powerless to choose either side. When Tom finally regained full awareness, he became deeply cautious about returning to the rodeo arena. Though he attempted to resume his career, the fire that once burned within him had faded. The drive, the thrill, and the fearless energy were gone. The once beloved sport now felt like a burden, and to avoid falling into despair, he knew he had to let go and move on. By 1981, Tom made the decision his heart had been whispering for years. It brought him peace beyond words. Together with his wife, he embarked on a new chapter of life that would redefine who they were. They left everything behind and moved to Montana's Yaak Valley, a remote wilderness filled with hidden beauty and challenges. Though it wasn't part of their original plan, it soon became their destiny. Upon arriving, Tom and Nancy strategized for survival. They knew that if they wanted to live, they would have to adapt quickly. They turned to the skills that nature demanded: trapping, tanning hides, and crafting leather goods, and slowly learned to master them. What began as survival soon became their calling. Though the early days were hard, their persistence turned hardship into harmony, and their new life began to take shape. Tom and Nancy learned to cherish their wilderness home. Their hard work brought results, and as they focused on their craft, they left behind the struggles of the past. Tom's skills were unmatched. Whatever he touched seemed to turn into something extraordinary. His craftsmanship drew attention from everyone around, and before long, the community began to visit his cabin, eager to buy his creations. From this simple start, Tom began to earn enough to support his family. His handmade goods, especially moccasins and leather products, became highly sought after for their beauty and durability. His early rodeo career had been remarkable, but this new life brought a different kind of fulfillment. Tom Orr's personality was a blend of ruggedness, fearlessness, and unshakable determination. His story proved that one could face hardship, pain, and even near death, and still emerge stronger. Though the journey was rough and unpredictable, Tom stood firm, never backing down from life's trials. His vision became his anchor, and whenever he thought of giving up, he looked back at how far he had come and kept pushing forward. Life as a Mountain Man. Crew. The life of Tom Orr on Mountain Men is nothing short of inspiring, a story that speaks of courage, endurance, and unbreakable spirit. Watching how he went from a quiet man living in the woods to one of the most beloved figures on the show is something every reality star could learn from. When Tom finally decided to hang up his rodeo boots after years of hardship, he made a vow to never return to that life again. The injuries, the pain, and the near-death experiences had taken their toll. Yet after months of living quietly, far away from the noise of the arena, something deep inside him kept calling him back. The potential buried within him refused to rest. Night after night, he lay awake, thinking of what more life might have in store. He knew he was meant for something greater, and until he exhausted every bit of his gift, peace would not come easily. Eventually, he surrendered to that inner voice. For Tom, this wasn't about fame or fortune, it was about fulfilling his purpose. He had only one goal: to live his life to the fullest, no matter the cost. When he and his wife made the move from their old life to their cabin in Montana's Yaak River Valley, things didn't immediately fall into place. At first, life in the wilderness was harsh, the winters biting and the nights painfully long. But Tom's heart was already fixed on what he wanted to achieve. Each dawn found him pushing a little harder, refusing to give up even when survival seemed impossible. The determination to make things work became his greatest weapon, and eventually, his patience began to pay off. He faced brutal weather, isolation, and constant financial struggles. Yet Tom didn't stop. Every obstacle forced him to become smarter, stronger, and more creative. To survive, he had to come up with a system that would help him stay one step ahead of every difficulty. For a while, nothing seemed to work, until one day he stumbled across a $3 book that would change his life forever. It was a small, unassuming manual detailing Native American brain tanning techniques, a traditional method for softening hides. Tom devoured its contents, determined to master every technique written within its worn pages. The book became his greatest teacher. When he began to apply what he had learned, everything shifted. The frustration that once consumed him turned into progress. Within months, Tom had regained his footing and started producing some of the finest buckskin anyone had ever seen. He soon began selling his products at black powder rendezvous events, festivals celebrating the old fur trading era. People admired his craftsmanship, his authenticity, and the passion with which he talked about his work. Slowly but surely, his reputation began to grow. Tom's creations stood out for their quality and attention to detail. Customers would leave with handmade moccasins or leather goods and come back with glowing reviews, spreading his name by word of mouth. It wasn't long before his products became well known throughout the region. What started as a means of survival had turned into something extraordinary. Tom had created a niche for himself, an identity built on skill, patience, and tradition. And yet, even with his newfound success, he wasn't satisfied. Deep down, he sensed that life had something even bigger in store. That something came unexpectedly when the producers of a new reality TV show called Mountain Men went searching for real people who lived off the land. When they met Tom, they knew they had found something special. To him, the offer felt like destiny. He didn't hesitate to accept. It was an opportunity to share his world with millions, to show the beauty and hardship of a life lived close to nature. Tom joined the cast from the show's very beginning, when it premiered in 2012. From that first episode, he became the heart of the series. Fans instantly connected with his authenticity, his humor, and his wisdom. Season after season, he remained a constant presence, appearing in every installment from the first through the 13th season. His performance never waned. Instead, his bond with the audience only grew stronger. Through the years, Tom's charisma and survival skills made him a central figure. He wasn't just another cast member. He was the face of Mountain Men. His adventures captured the essence of what the show stood for: endurance, simplicity, and respect for nature. Each time an episode featuring Tom aired, fans were glued to their screens, fascinated by how effortlessly he handled the toughest conditions. What made Tom so special among the Mountain Men cast was the rare combination of resilience, craftsmanship, and humility that he brought to the screen. He wasn't trying to act, he was simply being himself. Viewers loved him because he represented something real in an age of artificial fame. His story wasn't only about survival in the wild, it was about aging gracefully, adapting to change, and preserving a family legacy. Over the seasons, his name became a symbol of perseverance. Tom's ability to shift roles, from trapper to craftsman, from mentor to protector, was remarkable. His every move reflected a lifetime of experience. Because of that, his fame spread far beyond the borders of Montana. Within the Mountain Men community and beyond, Tom Orr became a legend. Fans often referred to him as a master survivalist, and rightfully so. Younger viewers saw him as a mentor figure, someone who embodied the values of hard work, self-reliance, and simplicity. Alongside Eustace Conway and Marty Maiorato, Tom formed the original trio that defined the show's early identity. Each man brought something unique, but it was Tom's quiet strength that made him unforgettable. He quickly became the centerpiece of the series. His deep connection with nature and his ability to thrive in the harshest wilderness gave him an edge that few could match. Every new episode seemed to raise the stakes, and Tom never disappointed. His intimate knowledge of the Yaak River Valley made him both a guide and a guardian of that rugged land. Fans admired not only his skills, but also his character. He faced every hardship with calm and dignity. Even as predators like wolves and bears prowled around his homestead, Tom stayed level-headed, always finding a way to outsmart the danger. He risked his life countless times, protecting his livestock and keeping his traps running through freezing blizzards. His bravery wasn't just for the cameras, it was who he truly was. Of course, Tom didn't walk that path alone. His beloved wife, Nancy, was right there beside him, helping him through each challenge. Their teamwork became one of the most endearing aspects of the show. Viewers also adored Ellie, their German short-haired pointer, who often accompanied them on hunting trips and daily chores. Together, they painted a picture of family unity that resonated deeply with fans around the world. What made Tom's role even more impressive was how much of his skill came from real experience rather than television training. Everything he did on camera, the tanning, the trapping, the tool-making, was part of a lifetime spent learning through trial and error. His earlier years in the rodeo had built in him a sense of discipline and fearlessness that translated beautifully into wilderness survival. Every technique he used carried the wisdom of years of labor and pain. Throughout his time on Mountain Men, Tom demonstrated what it truly meant to live off the land. His traps, his shelter, and his strategies for surviving brutal winters were all authentic. He never relied on luxury. He relied on instinct. As the show progressed, fans watched him age gracefully, yet remain just as sharp and capable as ever. When winter crept across Montana, Tom became even more focused. The snow, the frost, and the biting wind didn't intimidate him. They motivated him. Each season he prepared meticulously, stockpiling firewood, preserving meat, and setting traps in advance to ensure survival. He faced every storm with calm confidence, though the odds were often against him. Still, no matter how skilled he was, nature had its way of testing him. Food shortages hit hard, and the wilderness often showed its merciless side. At one point, Tom found himself struggling to find enough to eat, but he never surrendered to despair. Instead, he improvised, making use of every resource available. His creativity kept him alive where others might have given up. He often shared these challenges with his longtime friend and neighbor Will, a companion from his rodeo days. Together, they hunted, repaired traps, and supported each other through the bitter winters. Their bond was so close that many described them as brothers, or even twins. Their friendship reminded viewers that survival wasn't just about skill, it was also about loyalty and trust. As the seasons went by, danger seemed to grow. The wilderness became increasingly unpredictable, with predators closing in and the weather turning more severe. But Tom never backed down. He faced bears and wolves head-on, always managing to stay one step ahead. Time and again, he proved that courage and wisdom were his greatest weapons. Yet behind all the success and fame, there was a shadow. While Tom and Nancy thrived in the wilderness, their lifestyle came at a cost, especially for their daughter. At first, it seemed like she was adjusting well, but gradually, the toll became evident. Life in isolation, far from the conveniences of the modern world, began to weigh heavily on her spirit. She had hoped for an easier, calmer life, but the harshness of the wild made her miserable. Tom noticed the sadness in her eyes and promised to make things better. He did everything within his power to ease her struggles. But life in the wilderness had its own rules, rules that couldn't always be changed by love alone. The situation became even harder during Season 7, when Tom faced one of the most terrifying challenges of his life. That year, massive wildfires swept through parts of Montana, threatening his homestead and everything he had built in the Yaak Valley. Flames roared across the landscape, devouring forests and wildlife. For a brief, heart-stopping moment, it seemed like Tom might lose everything. But true to his nature, he stood firm. Even in the face of destruction, he fought to protect his home and his way of life. As if that wasn't enough, predators began moving closer than ever before. Wolves, bears, and coyotes driven by hunger into human territory. Tom's traps were constantly under threat, and every night he kept watch, ready to defend his animals and his land. It was exhausting, but he never wavered. Through all of it, Tom's legend continued to grow. Every season brought new hardships, yet he met them all with quiet strength. His contribution to Mountain Men was unmatched. Each episode carried his signature, a blend of wisdom, courage, and humility that touched millions of hearts. Tom remained at the top of his game from start to finish. Fans adored him, not just for his wilderness skills, but for the sincerity that came through in every scene. He embodied the spirit of mountain men, a man who lived by his principles and found peace in simplicity. Even though life sometimes dealt him difficult cards, Tom Orr's story remained one of endurance and grace. His dedication to finding light in every dark situation became the message that carried through the show's long run. Whether facing a raging fire, prowling predators, or the loneliness of the mountains, Tom stood tall, proving that true strength doesn't come from the body, but from the heart. The truth finally revealed. Tom Orr's life on the Mountain Men reality show has always been a tale of admiration and respect, both from fans and from those who followed his every wilderness adventure. To his audience, he wasn't just another cast member. He was a legend who had reached heights no other reality TV star could ever dream of. For years, his supporters praised him endlessly, even giving him nicknames that symbolized everything he represented in the world of trapping and hunting. But then, just when everyone thought they truly knew their hero, whispers began to spread. Slowly at first, then louder, rumors started flooding the media space. The speed at which they circulated shocked everyone, and fans couldn't help but start digging for the truth behind their idol's calm smile. Curiosity grew wild. Determined followers began connecting the dots, refusing to rest until every unanswered question was solved. Each new clue only led to another mystery, and though the trail often went cold, they never gave up. For years, it seemed like no one would ever uncover what was really happening behind the scenes. Many assumed the rumors were false, until one day, everything changed. Out of nowhere, a revelation struck that turned the fans' world upside down. It was a shocking discovery, one that challenged everything they had believed about Tom Orr. For so long, he had presented himself as the embodiment of truth and simplicity, a man who wore honesty like a badge. Even when whispers spread about hidden secrets, his silence convinced many that he was as pure as he appeared. But now, at 68, Tom has broken his silence, and what he revealed confirmed the very rumors fans had brushed aside. The truth, painful as it was, hit harder than anyone expected. For quite some time, speculation had swirled online that Tom Orr might be retiring from Mountain Men. Most dismissed it as just gossip. After all, how could a man as strong, vibrant, and committed as Tom suddenly decide to step away from the wilderness life he loved so much? Yet, as the seasons rolled by, fans noticed subtle signs, and their fears slowly grew. Eventually, Tom confirmed what everyone had dreaded for years. He was stepping away for good. The reason was heartbreaking. Over recent years, he had been facing serious health challenges that made it nearly impossible to continue. The struggle first became visible during Season 11, Episode 4, titled Heart and Soul. That was when the reality of his situation came to light, and for Tom, it marked the beginning of a very different chapter. What started as mild fatigue soon turned into something far more serious. After several tests, his cardiologist discovered that Tom's heart was failing to function properly, and fluid buildup in his lungs was blocking his airways. Despite numerous medications, nothing could undo the damage already done. When doctors attached a heart monitor to track his condition, the results were discouraging. Nancy, his wife and lifelong partner, later admitted, "This heart issue, it's a whole new look at life for him." Since Tom's health began to decline, everything in their daily lives changed. While Tom tried to stay strong, Nancy could only hope for a miracle, that somehow her husband might one day return to his old, tireless self. The diagnosis, though not fatal, came with one harsh warning. Retirement was no longer optional, it was necessary. To fans, it felt like the end of an era. Many hoped it was just another rumor, but when the truth came directly from Tom, their hearts sank. The man who had once conquered mountains and braved the harshest winters was now being forced to slow down, not by choice, but by circumstance. In his own words, Tom shared the heartbreaking truth. "It feels so sad that it had to be this way. I tried to give my best without exaggeration, but sadly, I can't continue because the life-draining hands of sickness have forced me into an early retirement." The news hit the Mountain Men community like a storm. Fans grieved the loss of their wilderness hero, while the show's producers felt the weight even more deeply. After all, Tom wasn't just a cast member, he was the soul of the show, the living spirit of survival, determination, and endurance. Even though his time on screen has come to an end, his legacy will forever echo across every mountain, river, and forest he once roamed. His name will remain synonymous with strength and survival, a reminder of what it truly means to live against the odds. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about Tom's story? And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to stay updated with more amazing stories like this one. Before you head out, take a moment to check out the other videos popping up on your screen. You'll definitely enjoy them too.